Eyewitness Sports.
Welcome to episode 12 of Double OT with Mark Dondero. I'm Yianni. How are you, sir?
Doing well. How are you?
Ready to go on vacation?
I'm going to be off for a few days.
You're going to out-tan me? I got this Greek tan. Now you go to Cape Cod all week?
Yeah, you're way more Mediterranean than I am. I can't outdo you.
All right, a lot to get to on this. We're taping this on a Tuesday. A lot of Patriots training camp. We'll talk some Celtics free agency, some Rhode Island Interscholastic League realignment. But we start with the Red Sox season. It is baseball season after all. Trading deadline 2 weeks away. As constituted now, the Red Sox roster. Is their roster good enough right now to make a playoff run?
It absolutely is, yes. And I know there have been issues. Pitching has been a problem. But I don't put that as much right now on Dave Dombrowski because of the guys he's acquired. And he's done, in my mind, as good as he could. Because he got David Price, ace, theoretically supposed to be an ace. He's a former Cy Young Award winner. He's not performing. That's not on Dave Dombrowski. He should be performing. And all the data says that David Price, especially in the regular season, postseason, different story. Regular season, he performs, hasn't been performing. And when your ace isn't performing, there's a trickle-down effect, and that affects the rest of the starters who we knew weren't great, and that equals struggles. They get Drew Pomeranz. We'll see how he does. He starts on Wednesday night, I believe, so we'll see how that goes, and we'll go from there. Craig Kimbrell, they have a bullpen, and their lineup is stacked. They should be in good position to make a postseason push.
Yeah, I like the Drew Pomeranz signing because everyone says the availability of a good start at training deadline is like nothing. So I like that he did it 2 weeks early because at the deadline maybe he would have gotten a little desperate and given away some prospects. You got Pomeranz, you got Brad Ziegler in the bullpen. When Kimbrell gets healthy, that extends the depth of your bullpen. And I think the rotation is maybe going to come into a little form as Pomeranz solidifies it, Wright keeps it up, Price becomes an ace, you hope. A lot of ifs there. But I think the lineup is good enough, too, that we'll see that consistently as long as an Ortiz, one of Betts, Bradley, Bogarts doesn't go down. I think they have enough pop in that offense that, again, I think we both agree they're going to be in that wild card hunt and potentially in there for the AL division crown, AL East division crown.
Pomeranz is a key. He needs to do something and perform because if he
can, curve.
Yeah, they have to find a way because David Price is pitched like a number 2.
Right.
If somehow he could.
Buckholz, I mean, you
don't
can't
talk about Buckholz.
Should they get rid of Buckholz?
Yes. If somehow I'm not even talking about Buckholz. If somehow Drew Pomeranz can become a number 2 and Price can become a number 1, not even an ace, just a number 1.
Yeah.
They'll be with that lineup. They'll be in position.
Buckholz is like the girl that your buddy dates that's awful, and everyone tells your buddy she's awful, and he just dates her and goes back to her, and you're just like, just get her out.
Yeah, I would need more time to think about that analogy. But yeah, it's something like that. It's time. He's lost the room if that applies to players. But we are not at the point yet where we're just waiting for football season to start because there is still some intrigue with the Red Sox. But eventually football season will start. And when it does, at least right now, Jimmy Garoppolo will be the Patriots starting quarterback thanks to Deflategate. So when that happens, Yianni, he is scheduled to start 4 games. What will the Patriots' record be after 4 games with Jimmy Garoppolo under center?
I'm going to play this conservatively. I know the Vegas over-under on wins or losses is 1.5. So Las Vegas, the wise guys are saying the Pats will win 2 or 3 games. I think they win 2. I think they go 2-2. Week 1 at Arizona Sunday night. I think they lose. The Arizona fans are going to be all in. This is going to be the first real game time for Garoppolo. I think coming home, they beat Miami, they beat Houston, short week on a Thursday night, and they lose to Buffalo. All these teams, what do they have in common, Mark? They all have good pass rushes. And obviously, Josh McDaniels, Bill Belichick cater their offense to the personnel. I think they'll make it a game plan that he can manage, but this guy hasn't started a meaningful game before. You're kind of throwing him to the wolves there. Obviously, he has all of training camp, but I think it's safe to say 2-2. We've seen the Pats get off to some slow starts in recent years. The Super Bowl year in 2014, they went 2-2. So they don't always just come out firing in September. So I think it's safe to say 2-2. I wouldn't be surprised if they won 3 games, though.
I think they'll go 2-2. I think they'll be better. I think they're more likely to go 3-1 than they are to go 1-3. I have a feeling. I just have a feeling that they are going to win in Arizona. They got all year to prepare for that game. The Cardinals aren't going to know really what to expect with Jimmy Garoppolo. You'll see him in the preseason, but they're not going to know exactly what to expect in the first game on the road. And Carson Palmer, it would not surprise me at all if he comes out and throws 3 ducks, 3 interceptions, and the Patriots defense, which is excellent, remember, excellent, shows up big time, and they steal a game. I think the 2 divisional games at home could be tougher. Those teams know the Patriots. They're not as in awe of the Patriots, if you will. Sure. They could lose, who knows? I think they'll go 2-2, and at the end of it, they'll be right where they want to be. We've talked about this before. 3 of the 4 times the Patriots have won the Super Bowl, they were 2-2.
You know what's interesting to think about as Brady's serving his 4-game suspension? He can't be on the premise for a month. He's going to be going berserk.
Berserk.
Is he going to show up at his TB12 Institute, which we know is at Patriot Place? Is he just going to Instagram pictures of him wearing Uggs, watching TV with Giselle? Like, what is he going to do?
Well, what he will do is be totally prepared for the 4 weeks off. So he'll have a plan in place. They will have it teed up for him. He will know exactly what he wants to do, what he should be doing.
But it's interesting that he's not really supposed to have contact with the organization. Are they sending like cryptic notes? Are they currying like a note to him, or sending one with like a bald eagle like in Game of Thrones to his house in Brookline saying, hey, this is what we're working on?
They could do that. It might happen, but it won't.
All right, let's talk about Tom Brady. We actually haven't spoke about him dropping the Deflategate appeal. We obviously know the NFLPA can still bring it to the Supreme Court, but the mantra or the belief all along was that he was taking this to the bitter end. He hires Ted Olson, the Supreme Court lawyer, and ultimately he gives up, to put it succinctly. Why did he, and should he have?
I think that it wasn't just Tom Brady making this decision. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think he made the decision, but he got some input. He got some feedback from his bosses, from the people he works with, Belichick, Kraft. And I think they talked about the pros and cons and what Tom wanted to do. Of course, he wants this behind him. That was a big part of it. Do I think he should have given it up? Yes. Give it up. I don't think this was going any further. If he is innocent, here's what I would have liked to have seen. I would have liked to have seen Tom Brady give it up, back away, but then have a press conference and say some of the things. Now, I know the NFLPA is going to carry this on and they're going to keep it going, but there has to be some statement made. If you are innocent, and some people may say, well, who does that help? Does that really help Tom Brady? I don't care. I think a statement should have been made by Tom Brady declaring his innocence, reiterating his innocence if he was innocent. That's what I think should have happened. It was disappointing to not see something like that happen, or at least not yet. You know he'll get some kind of question. He'll probably defer it when we do ask the question. There should have been some statement made declaring or reiterating his innocence in this thing if he was in fact innocent. That's what I think should have happened.
I think Tom Brady should have fought this to the bitter end. I was disappointed. We've come so far, January of 2015, how many some odd days, 500 something, appeal upon appeal upon appeal upon appeal. And then to make another analogy within the game, it's the fourth quarter, he's losing, but he has a Hail Mary left in him, maybe 60 yards, 5 seconds to go. Why give up? You've come so far. I was disappointed to empathize with Patriot fans that he gave up, because I thought he was so close. And what's the harm in him trying to go to the Supreme Court and them saying, no chance we're hearing this? And then he goes, all right, now he can say, hang his hat on, I fought it to the end. Now he can only say, I fought it 90% of the way. The NFLPA tried the extra 10%, and ultimately it didn't happen. I get that he wants to put it behind him. Maybe he was eating them alive. Who knows? He wanted to go to camp, and he didn't want to think about it.
There were football reasons to this, but I agree. I understand why you said that, but this for me was just so ridiculous from the start. As you know, you've heard me talk about this. So ridiculous. I'm finished with it. If I go into the newsroom and Mike and Shannon are arguing about why Mike ate Shannon's ice cream that was in the fridge, I go in there and think, whoa, what's going on here? For one day. But if 5 days later or 544 days later they're still arguing about what happened with that ice cream, get over it. It's over. It's done. Get me out of here. That would be that. So that was kind of where I was at with the Deflategate.
Yeah, personally, I think from what we do, we're sick and tired of talking about.
Of course we are. We present the news, but this story was pathetic. Okay, but being the case, we have to talk about what's going to happen with the Patriots football-wise going into camp. We've talked a lot about the quarterbacks. We mentioned Jimmy Garoppolo. So, Yianni, for you, what's the biggest non-quarterback storyline you'll be looking at as we enter training camp?
I think the biggest storyline is health. So Julian Edelman and Danny Amendola both had off-season surgeries. Remember, Edelman was not himself down the stretch. He pretty much, I don't know what they put in his shoe or his boot to have him play in Denver that last game, but I don't know what speed these guys are at. Are they 70%, 80%? Are they going to be ready for week one? They need to build some sort of rapport with Jimmy Garoppolo. So I think the health of the two wideouts is paramount right now to build a rapport with Garoppolo, and because those two are so critical to your offense.
I'm going to lean defense. I love defense.
You love
defense. I think the biggest thing for me, I'll be keeping a close eye on the three guys whose contracts will soon expire. Dante Hightower, Jamie Collins, Malcolm Butler.
Right.
Those guys are interesting to me because going into camp, and part of the reason there aren't enormous storylines outside of quarterback is because this team is coming back essentially pretty well intact. There's a lot of guys that we know about coming back, but I want to see how these guys perform in camp. I want to see if they're moody talking to the media because we've talked about the contracts. I want to see how they handle that kind of speculation and questioning. And I want to see, are they going to elevate their games? Is Jamie Collins going to be a superstar, one of the best, or is he just a Pro Bowler?
Right.
Same with Dante Hightower and same with Malcolm Butler, because we know, especially with the first four games lined up the way they are with Jimmy Garoppolo in there, unknown at this point. I want to see if this team can rely on its defense, lean on its defense, and camp will tell us a little bit of something in terms of that.
Those three guys up for contracts, prioritizing Butler one because of the cornerback position.
Exactly.
Then Collins, then Hightower.
I'd probably do it that way, yep.
All right. Yeah, three integral parts. We thought it'd be four with Chandler Jones. He shipped off to Arizona. We'll see him on week one.
And of course, more storylines will unfold as camp begins, but that's initially I'll be looking at those three guys. Still a long way away from Celtics training camp, but when we get there, we could see a couple new players, some big name players possibly. There's been a lot of rumors over the course of the last few weeks, some big names thrown out there with them being linked to the Celtics potentially. What's the one guy that you're really focused on that you'd love to see in green?
I think for the context of this discussion, we're going to talk about there's been rumors about Russell Westbrook, Blake Griffin, and DeMarcus Cousins.
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted me to mention specifically.
Okay. I'm going to pass on Westbrook. Look, he's probably top 5 or 6 players in the league. We know he has one more year under contract, and then, so if you trade for him right now, he's under your control for a year. Do you think Westbrook isn't going to test free agency next year after how he's played? We know he's an LA guy. I wouldn't be shocked if he signed with the Lakers. They're due to make a splash in free agency. So I'd be wary to trade for Westbrook. Blake Griffin, I think he's peaked a couple years ago. He kind of came in as this big high-flying dunker. We know he punched the traveling secretary or whatever it was. I think his stock is going on a decline. So out of these three guys, I'd go with Cousins. I know he's kind of a head case, but he's out in Sacramento. Maybe get him in Boston. You get him under the tutelage of Brad Stevens. He can bring things together, and he has 2 years left on his contract. You put him with Isaiah Thomas. You put him with Al Horford. I think it's still a shooter's league right now, but having two prominent big guys in Horford and Cousins would be good. Also, Westbrook is too much of a me-first guy. I think they're kind of embracing, to use a term from the 08 Celtics, the Mumbutu, like all-in team mentality. So Westbrook, when he's chucking it up 30 times a game and isn't passing and doing ISO ball, I don't think that'll work well.
Do you know anything about DeMarcus Cousins' contract? Would he be here long term?
He has 2 more years left.
Okay, so he would be here at least for a few years.
So I don't think he'd even be viable as a trade right now. You'd hope Sacramento is, doing poorly and they try to get rid of him next year.
Okay. I am taking Russell Westbrook. And the reason is because, like you said, he is a top 5 player in the league with the potential to be an MVP. Top 5 player in the league. How many of those are there? 5. So I would definitely go with Russell Westbrook if I had to choose between any of these guys. Blake Griffin, I wouldn't even think about Blake Griffin. Not even a consideration. So get him out. Russell Westbrook, though, he could be your... They already got Al Horford. Okay. So now we're trying to win now. That's fine. I hate giving up Brooklyn's picks because it could be number 1 overall. It could be number 4 overall next year, depending. They have the right to the pick next year. But if you're going to give it up, you give it up for a guy who could be the MVP of the league. And Russell Westbrook could be that guy. Now, will he stay? I don't know.
Keep in mind, OKC did not make the playoffs the year Durant was hurt, and Westbrook was the guy.
That's true. but that's in the Western Conference, and the Celtics,
There's some rumors of Jahlil Okafor with the 76ers. I would have to strongly consider Okafor for the Nets pick.
Okay, there is no way. The only way I trade the Nets pick is if the guy is an MVP kind of talent. That's the only way.
How do we know?
That is the only way.
Let's say Okafor stayed an extra year at Duke. He could have been the first pick this year.
Okay.
So how do you know the first, second, or third, whatever the Celtics get next year is better than what the first pick would have been this year? You know what I mean?
Well, I know a little bit about some of the recruits that are out there, and some of them are more, I don't know if they're highly touted than Okafor was, but I take my chances. We saw him as a rookie. He didn't do what Anthony Davis did. And I just wouldn't, unless you have, listen, all of this is predicated on what are we giving up? If I don't, we'd have to break down what would be given up for each guy, and that gets complicated. I'm not giving up the Brooklyn pick unless he's an MVP caliber talent, and I know that. I don't know that about Jahlil Okafor. I know that about Russell Westbrook. I would give up the pick, and I would get Westbrook. And the last thing I'm going to say is because the reason I would do that with Westbrook is I think the Celtics have a better chance. Nothing is a good chance, but that's how this works. They would have a better chance of getting rid of the pick, getting Westbrook, and rolling the dice that he re-signs than drafting somebody next year at 1 overall, at 4 overall, and then having them turn into a superstar MVP player. Both the odds are low, but you have a better chance getting the guy you know has the talent and then going from there.
All right, we finish on the local scene. Rhode Island Interscholastic League has realigned in football. For those that don't know, instead of 4 divisions, there will now be 3, 2 subdivisions in each 1, 2, and 3. 8 of the 14 teams will make the playoffs every year. Still be 4 Super Bowls. That's because in Division 1, this is all pretty much predicated on the LaSalle and Hendricken dominance. LaSalle's in one division, Hendricken's in the other division. If you're a D1 team, you play one, not both, every year. 4 teams from one division make the playoffs. 4 from the other. Go to the semifinals. The winner of one semifinal, let's say Hendricken, plays the winner of the other. Let's say LaSalle. So you have the mega Super Bowl, presumably Hendricken versus LaSalle, based on history. The losers, let's say 2 public schools, let's say Cranston East and South Kingstown. They also play in a Super Bowl, crowned a state champion, even though it's essentially a consolation. Still 4 Super Bowls, 3 divisions, some teams moving up, some moving down. You can kind of dispute those. As a long preamble to my question, what do you make of the realignment, Mark Dondero, as we approach our Friday night football show?
I despise this realignment. I can't even put it into words how bad this is. This is an embarrassment to Rhode Island Interscholastic Athletics, and I can't believe that this idea, it's one thing if the idea crossed somebody's mind, but that they actually went through with this.
Why don't you like it?
Because you have 2 Super Bowls for Division 1. 2, as in 2. So there can't be one champion of the Division 1 division because there's 2.
Well, I don't know what they're calling it.
Listen,
the Division 1 Super Bowl, the Division 1.
I understand the frustration of the dominance of Bishop Hendricken and LaSalle. I get it. But this is not how you handle it. This is an insult to all the athletes that play. So here's how I would handle it.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's feasible. I don't know about budgets. I don't know about politics and any of that. What you have to do, if you're Rhode Island, there's no other choice. You have to put Hendricken and all the Catholic schools and all the private schools in one league. They don't participate in the RIIL.
So you have Hendricken, LaSalle. Who else do you throw in there? Moses Brown?
Well, those schools are
St. Ray's.
LaSalle is the biggest one. Other ones are smaller. I'd have to look at size. You'd have maybe divide up those. I don't know. But it's just a broken system because it's not fair to compare Massachusetts. It's a different state. But for the sake of perspective, in Massachusetts, there are 5 Bishop Hendrickens. So they can compete and beat up on each other. Then they have the ISL. The ISL schools, Independent. They don't play in the MIAA.
Right.
That system is better. The Bishop Hendrickens of Massachusetts they're still in the MIAA, but there's more of them. So
So it's a tough scenario because what do you do with Hendricken and LaSalle? Do you have them go up and play Massachusetts? I don't think either school wants to go up and play Xaverian and all the other schools travel-wise.
Can't do that.
There are some rivalries in TAC, right? LaSalle versus East Providence, etc. They've always been part of the Interscholastic League, but they dominate year after year, and it seems like that that gap is widening. It's been a few years. Well, Hendricken's won, 5 in a row since a public school has won. So what do you do with them? I don't know if I have the right answer. I don't think you have 2 D1 Super Bowls.
You definitely do not have that.
You have an asterisk, watered-down Super Bowl.
No.
Do you think that public school team, presumably, that wins it they're gonna be happy that they won their last game of the season, but it's like the World Cup. Does anyone care about the 3rd place game in the World Cup?
No, and of course, what happens
it's
if
consolation? So it's kind of appeasing. It's kind of like the society we live in now. Everyone gets a medal when your kid's playing some T-ball growing up. So hey, you're the 3rd best team in Division I, but you're also a Super Bowl champ. I think that's bad. I will say there are some positives. I like the consolidation of 3 divisions now.
Sure.
I like that some 4 teams are going to move up to 3. Can they play with 3? Some 2s are moving up to 1. I think some teams are not in the right spots. Woonsocket shouldn't be in Division I. I think North Kingstown should be in Division I. They're still in 2. Moses Brown's been undefeated the last 2 years. They couldn't go to D1. So there are some schools that I think are misplaced, but I like the idea of 3 divisions. And if anyone's complaining about playing Hendricken and LaSalle twice a year, I mean, it's your schedule. Like, compete with the big boys. Listen, Hendricken and LaSalle, people say they recruit. I don't know if that's the right word, but they are obviously getting kids from all over the state. And if they have the means to do it, can get to those, I had kids in my hometown that went on to play at Hendricken or LaSalle, and if we had them on my team,
you gotta put them in a separate league. You can't have them play with the public schools if you don't want the dominance.
I will say this: if there's a public school team that knocks off Hendricken or LaSalle in the semis, that'd be cool, right?
Well, then what do? Because then you look like a bigger buffoon. Because then we have these 2 Super Bowls and we have this great upset. But we can't even enjoy it because now there's all kinds of.
I think the big one still matters the most. But then, do you think, let's say LaSalle loses in one semifinal, then they win the consolation Super Bowl? You think they're happy? Do you think they're going to put that trophy next to the trophy the previous year?
Let me ask you this: we get sound from the champions. Are you going to make me go get sound from the consolation Super Bowl? State champion number 2. How does it feel? Well, does it feel okay? I mean, Hendricken really wanted to. How does it feel, though?
Well, it's also like in basketball, they have the Division 1, 2, and 3, and then they have the state tournament. So in basketball, are you more proud of the state tournament championship or the
That's a good
one
question.
specific to your division?
That's a little bit of, that's at least. It's not quite as blatant.
You know what? I just wish some of the public school teams could compete
exactly
at that level. Ultimately, there are some teams, and Barrington's been good in recent years. Portsmouth, Cranston East, Cranston West, South Kingstown. They just don't have the depth. So if their running back or quarterback goes down, they're done. If Hendricken has their quarterback goes down, the next guy behind him is as good.
Just make it a private school championship. You'd have to sort through the size of the schools.
I just don't think there's enough in Rhode Island.
Enough schools, private schools.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but I think that would be. It wouldn't be perfect, but I think that would be better than either A, the perennial dominance of LaSalle and Hendricken, or B, 2 Super Bowls for Division I. There's T-ball leagues that are more competitive than that.
Can't wait for the fall season. You ready for the high school football show?
Yeah, we have a blast doing that show.
It is fun. It is fun. All right, that'll do it for this episode of WPRI OOT, episode 12 in the books. It'll be online at WPRI.com. We'll social it out. Like how I use social as a verb.
No pop culture topic this week?
We did Pokemon last week.
We'll put it to bed for a week.
You want to talk RNC politics?
No, we can't get into that. I mean, don't get into that.
Stick to sports.
That was unbelievable. All
right. We will see you next time. So you're on vacation. Are we going to do one of these next week? We may be off.
Yeah, we at the end of the week.
Well, we have Pat's training camp on Thursday. I'm off Friday. Could be tough. We may have to Skype you in from the beach. Sharks are coming to Cape Cod. Have you been seeing this?
We go to a beach on the bay side. I'd like to think that. Well, yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it.
I didn't mean to scare you.
No, I don't like it. And my little girl, she's always like, go this way.
Zolak was on the radio freaking out today because
whatever
town he's in.
It's unsettling.
We hope you stay safe from the Sharks, and
thank you.
We'll chat next week.
All right.
That's it. Have a good time.